Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Creepypasta Iceberg series. I'm your host, True Horror Stories, and today we are returning once again to complete the fifth and final stage of this wonderfully wild ride that I started back in July of last year. This final level should be even more interesting than the last, and from looking at them already, I haven't heard of most of these. Without further ado, let's get into the first creepypasta for the bottom of this amazingly terrifying iceberg. Skin Daddy is a very short but sweet creepypasta about a child who slowly loses everyone close to them because of a friend they say lives in the forest behind their house. They describe their friend as being very tall with a calm voice, special hair, and shiny eyes. Bad things start to happen when their father went to the doctor for vomiting blood, their mother stating the next day that their daddy wouldn't be returning home. The Skin Daddy had told them he would give their father some special medicine the night before, only to tell them later their father was in a happy place. The next day, their sister was gone, and the police couldn't find her when they arrived. The story ends with the child stating that their sister and now their mother was with their father in the special place, and all they had left now was their Skin Daddy. The next creepypasta on our list is called Mordecai and describes the horror a man named Anthony experienced after someone sent him a download link containing the horrid tale of his insane distant relative from the 1600s, Mordecai the Murderer. The link explained how Mordecai lost his mind after becoming addicted to a hallucinogen called HK447 and would spend months kidnapping and murdering children at the behest of his visions. He then murdered his entire family before he was found dead with a crying child next to him that would attest to him saying the following: "Don't worry, young one. I have been told the secrets. Secrets you'll never understand. But I do. I know what they mean, and they'll save me, and I can save you too." His house was then searched to find the following scrawled everywhere in blood: "The secrets. They'll save me. I can save them too." 2 weeks after telling his friends about this as a joke, Anthony is told they began receiving video chat requests from his account. Requests that turn out to be nothing more than a black screen with an unseen person breathing slowly and heavily. These requests escalate to the point where his friends are receiving them while they aren't in the app and haven't accepted them. One stating that incoherent whispers were also heard. Eventually, Anthony loses his account and starts to receive these video chats himself, which would continue to crash his computer, except he eventually hears this message: "You must know my secret. Only I can save them, no one else. No one must know, and I will make sure you won't be able to stop me." His friends start disappearing, and he eventually resorts to trying to wipe his computer, but he cannot escape the voice of Mordecai that now echoes in his head. After all, some things are best kept secret. Skype is short but rather chilling for someone like me who covers serial killers on a regular basis. The narrator is on a Skype call with a friend when the fire alarm is pulled, the friend leaving with the video call still on. After watching the friend's video feed for a while, the narrator notices a man wearing a goat skull mask, blue paint-stained boiler suit, and beanie come into their room and hide in their closet. The friend then returns as the narrator calls 911, and the story ends with the 911 operator trying to speak with them. Raylo is a creepypasta that takes the form of a poem that speaks of a being behind the wall. This being is said to be waiting for the apocalypse before he could awaken and hail the end times. I unfortunately could not find the original version of this, but Mr. Creepypasta does still have a video up that has the full rendition, and if you'd like to hear it, please see the description below for the link to that. Email plays out in the form of 4 Reddit posts from a user named Still Running that started August 16th, 2014 with the story of the user who states he was posting from his vehicle after driving a long distance from his home. He describes opening an email by accident 9 years earlier that contained the classified information about an altered strain of Ebola that could turn into a massive panini, yes I said panini instead of the actual word, if released to the public, downloading the information to a flash drive and then being visited later by 2 men in black. He leaves and returns on the same day with a new post stating that he constantly moves cities before continuing his story. He recounts that the men in black pushed him to show that he had deleted the email so that they would leave, believing that to be the end of it. Unfortunately, he was wrong, and one of the tractors at his home explodes after his wife used it, something that he states couldn't have been by accident since he meticulously cleans and maintains them. After staying a short while with his in-laws, he returns home to find that the firing pins in all his weapons are missing. He would also notice that he and his wife were being watched over the next few weeks before carbon monoxide buildup was caught in his home. The springs in his garage door would fail and almost crush his dog, and the power brakes in his car would go out while on the highway. The second post ends with the decision that Still Running would go missing to save his wife, posting once again on the same day after driving to a new spot, describing how he went to great lengths to go missing. While he was going through those lengths, he described more accidents happening and goes on to speak about how he wanted to reach out to his family and how he discovered that they truly had moved on to some extent. He even tried to contact people of power to get help, all of whom would be silenced through either death or destruction of credibility through scandals. He states that these posts are a way to tell his wife what happened, a little bit of hope she might find it while perusing Reddit boards before disappearing for 6 days. The final post comes August 22nd, 2014, with the user stating that the family he had borrowed the internet connection from had suffered a home invasion that left the father dead and his children mutilated. He mocks the many people posting comments to his previous posts before stating he was disappearing for good, thanking the people who responded for giving him some form of human contact, and asks his wife for forgiveness. The next creepypasta is a rather intricate one called The Tale of Robert Elm, and is basically a series that's exactly what the title states, a story told by a man named Robert Elm. It starts with describing the titular character, Robert Elm, as a patron of a bar every night for 12 years who never spoke until one bartender asked him how he was one night, prompting him to divulge his life story. He would go on about a relationship that he destroyed by being an abusive drunk and ended up stranded in a cornfield where he was found by a huge figure in a shimmering black coat. The figure, who he later found out to be named Lombard, offered to let Elm accompany him to his meeting and then return him home, to which he somehow agreed. This meeting goes rather oddly at first when Elm attempted to converse with the other guests and the refreshments made him sick, and it ends with him being tricked into a weird ritual that goes awry. Elm wakes after being stabbed to find that he hasn't returned home, but is still in the house of Lombard, and comes to the realization that he is now tangled in a group called the Black Order, which was formed in order to fight a disease that infested the town in the late 1800s. Elm is kept there for several days, visited by Lombard frequently, and eventually allowed to wander aimlessly around the town before he was told he'd be released after one final ritual, which he ends up finding out is him being sacrificed. What a twist. He watches as the man who stabbed him is sacrificed in front of the rest of the town and scurries back to his room before he's caught. Elm would later attack Lombard and stab him with a pencil, only to find out that the two are descended from the same family, a family that had consorted with black magic to save their village from a plague. Elm's ancestors then turned on Lombard's, and now Elm is to die, or else the Black Order would be eradicated. Elm obviously escapes, however, he is visited once again by Lombard simply because he had told this story to begin with. Good evening, friend. Mr. Friend 123 is another creepypasta told in the form of blog posts, this time on Tumblr from January to September 2015. The posts start with the Tumblr blogger describing a weird BDSM fanatic named Mr. Friend 123 who would post disturbing videos of a cryptic nature that depict mannequins and cult-like activities such as people dressed in weird costumes and performing seances. The blog posts become increasingly more bizarre and depraved, causing speculation regarding these videos to range from Mr. Friend 123 being a serial killer to the whole series just being a hoax. I've put a link to the creepypasta in the description below and leave interpretation up to you. What you are viewing is something that doesn't exist. It is something that cannot be found, and it is something that cannot be lost. It was created to show you what is happening. It was created to make you understand. It was created simply because it was, but their reasons are there. All the reasons are hidden in these videos. Hidden messages. Hidden clues. Morbius.avi is similar to email, where the narrator decides to open the attachments on a very suspicious email and discovers a video depicting the surgery of an allegedly infected person. After watching the video, they start to feel ill and have terrible nightmares of the video they'd seen over and over again. Their roommate ends up seeing the video, and everything after that is a fever dream of events, where they become increasingly ill and their roommate is eventually kidnapped and videotaped being operated upon. The fever dream ends with the narrator being visited by the same doctors in the video they made the mistake of opening days before. Subject has been confirmed with the infection. Immediate surgery has been directed. Talk to Strangers is a chilling short story about a child's unsettling encounter on Omegle, a video chat platform where users are randomly paired up to chat. This particular user has no issues until they are paired with an almost motionless man who looked emaciated beyond what should be possible, that just stared at them to the point they became uncomfortable and ended the conversation. Through a terrible roll of the dice, they were paired with this creepy man again. This time, the little smile on his face replaced with an anger that kept the narrator from disconnecting. He proceeds to cut a weird mask out of a paper plate, then takes a Polaroid picture of them and somehow finds where they live, putting the Polaroid in their room while they walked away. Secret Bar starts as an exciting little story of a newly legal drinker who became extremely curious about secret bars that most cities apparently have. After searching the interwebs about this for some time, they receive an email from an anonymous person offering to take them to a very exclusive secret bar to celebrate their 21st birthday. Once they'd met the anonymous emailer, who they described as being a 20-something-year-old goth girl, they were led to an abandoned building and taken down a long elevator ride to hell. Though I would love to describe to you all exactly what happens once our narrator gets to hell, I'd probably get in trouble with YouTube, so if you want to read the rest of this particular creepypasta, click the link in the description below. The Town of Blanche is a literal shitpasta that is so bad I will not spend a whole lot of time covering it. The story basically talks about a kid and their dad going to a town called Blanche that had a bunch of dark-colored houses, a creepy atmosphere, people who had deep blue-colored skin, and smelled like fish. That's literally it. It's literally a one-piece shitpasta. Spectre is a creepypasta centering around an infamous paranormal image of what is claimed to be a ghost in a Catholic church called the Newbie Church Photo. The narrator starts by recalling a time in which he had the piss scared out of him by an old man dressed in a long black coat and hood after a North Yorkshire church service while on vacation as a young child. Years later, the narrator speaks to a cousin that lives in that area and is told about the image, stating that the person within the image is the one they'd seen on that fateful day. Sky Judge is a corrupted video from an airplane security camera that is believed to be a hoax, containing the footage of a hood figure causing chaos during the flight. This creepypasta takes the form of a video transcript detailing how an ethereal hooded figure causes flight attendants and passengers to disappear and reappear at different times during the video. I'm not totally sure, but it seems that the ending takes on a very Final Destination-esque ending, with everybody disappearing and the plane possibly crashing as the feed goes completely white. Generation Lost is a clip posted to 4chan's random board in 2008 that seems rather innocent at first, but causes some serious side effects. These include seeing humanoid shapes between static in the video, hearing screams in the grinding background music, seeing an extremely gaunt-looking boy in public, and hearing vague whispers and clicking. Seer of Possibilities is another instance where spirits or beings from the other side contact someone in the living world through the medium of computer technology. Our protagonist, Jack, is playing solitaire one night when he receives a weird message and a solid black screen with red text. "Hi Jack, I need a favor from you. You're a very special person and I know you'll help me. I can't ask this of just anyone. I really need your help." He is asked by the being to move a small potted plant at work a few inches from the wall at a very specific time, before he freaks out and pulls the power cord from his computer. Though Jack is hesitant at first and pretty freaked out by the message, he does oblige and move the plant, which causes a coworker of his to trip and hurt himself severely. The chain of events after this is a complete spiral out of control to the point where the coworker and Jack's current girlfriend die in a car crash on the way to the hospital. The story goes on to show the great rewards Jack would receive after doing this initial task for this mysterious person, but also the horrifying consequences. I highly suggest reading this creepypasta yourself if you want to see what goes down in this wonderfully done story. Abaddon Tenebre is a video game creepypasta told from the point of view of an admitted patient of a mental health facility after playing a Doom-style game with a friend one day. The narrator takes the game home after becoming obsessed with the gameplay, and finds out after several days of constant playing it that the friend he'd taken the game from had passed away even though doctors had said he wasn't sick. The narrator then becomes progressively ill as they continue to play this game, desperately trying to figure out how to beat it until they are eventually contacted by somebody who states they have 131 days to do so before they will die too. Simple Game is yet another video game creepypasta where the narrator finds and takes ownership of a broken, unlabeled Game Boy Color cartridge. The story doesn't have a whole lot to it, but the narrator apparently is sucked into the game and only sees the outside world again when another kid picks the game up to play it. Skyrim's Secret is a story based upon an alleged Easter egg found within the extremely popular Elder Scrolls game, Skyrim. The narrator states that the Easter egg is an unfinished area found south of Markarth on the southwestern edge of the map called Hesfortet Manor. Going inside gave him an interaction with a character not previously in the game that comments about how wealth is only temporary, the narrator getting robbed the day after said interaction. The more he continues to visit this place, the worse his luck becomes, and the older the NPC gets until the NPC dies and he is alone, homeless, and penniless. The narrator ends the story by stating how much he yearns to find this game again, revisit Husfortap, and find peace. Princess is a creepypasta where the narrator describes their experiences with a white German Shepherd puppy that becomes a complete monster, Princess. The evil begins with all of her siblings dying after their litter is born, dominating her parents when she was old enough, and then turning to harm small animals whenever she possibly could. The narrator called her feral at one point, describing how the demon dog finally had enough of her father and strangled him to death. Everything comes to a head when Princess attacks the father, being shot to death with 2 shotgun shells to the body only to return as a ghost. They state that Princess still haunts the woods outside their house, leaving tokens of her love on their doorstep to remind them she's there and watching. Taboo the Sixth Sense is a video game creepypasta that talks about an old NES game that the narrator described as a more complex version of a magic 8-ball. They describe talking to a school friend named Dwayne, who is absolutely obsessed with the game to the point he claims he was an apprentice wizard in a satanic cult that could see the future through the game and not believing it at all. He then remembers seeing a much older version of Dwayne appearing on his television when the same cult that was spoken of was busted for sacrificing animals and recruiting children through the game. The last thing the narrator talks about regarding this is how he found a Reddit post from a father recounting how his son had gotten hold of the game, had a downward spiral, and then disappears without a trace. Thumps is the first-person description of a man awakening to find themselves in an unknown place with a woman they don't know. He and the other prisoner in this concrete box they'd awoken in try to figure out how to escape while they hear this thumping noise in the periphery of their consciousness. As the story progresses, it becomes a sinister mix of what can only be described as brainwashing or conditioning by an extraterrestrial force. If you want to read the twists and turns for yourself, I highly suggest you check it out using the link in the description below. Skipper's Bin describes a particular YouTube channel that appeared not long after the site was created called Dennis 100 that would post low quality but extremely terrifying videos. The first video depicts someone eating cooked turkey before turning to show a very young girl coughing and gagging violently. The next showing the same girl and a whole family doing the same as 2 men in masks attack the father. Both videos had a small watermark that said skippers-bin.com that didn't go to any actual website and said "for Skipper" in the description. The videos continued to become more disturbingly violent as the next 3 videos posted became more and more aggressive to the point that the final showed the stabbing of another man. And then the channel and all others associated with it disappeared into the ether. The Blank Revolt is a unique concept of a story where the lifeless stares of mannequins turn into a hostile takeover of humanity. The narrator describes how the first attack was of a young girl by crushing her windpipe, and a month later 430 people were dead in the same manner in different locations. By the time 2 million were dead, humanity fought back only to find that the mannequins were learning and adapting. The story ends with the narrator stating that he was being attacked and that humanity had failed to survive and were now replaced by their unfeeling betters. The Forgotten Spider-Man is a brief creepypasta about a fictional issue of an admittedly violent Spider-Man comic. The narrator, an obsessive fan of Spider-Man comics, picks up a little-known comic book from a torn-down shop they found while heading home from work. As the narrator reads the comic, they become ill, and when attempting to put it down, they felt as though the toy they'd gotten with the purchase of the comic was staring at them, pressuring them to finish. Once they completed reading the story, they received a second comic in the mail, even though they had read articles that the writer had died during the creation of the first installment. Twist Ending is an extremely short story that I would argue is a troll pasta of sorts just because of how short it is. Basically, it's about an author named David who had earned the ire of a fan whom they had stolen story material from in the past, and was eventually called out for this via a handwritten note attached to a manuscript sent in the mail. The note basically tells David that the letter was laced with arsenic, and they are getting revenge for David ruining their writing career. Stay in Bed plays against the dreaded trope of a creepy old hotel where bad things tend to happen. The narrator starts by saying that he'd booked this reservation at this place while in a rush, and when he arrived, he was told that this particular hotel has a curfew. Not listening to what he's told, the narrator gets out of bed and puts a VHS tape into the player in his room, looking into the static of the TV to see a mutilated face of a woman staring back at him. He goes out to talk to the hotel workers after he hears this nasty squishing sound outside of his hotel room and sees what looks like a dead woman walking the hallway, only to be told that murderous ghosts roam the halls. To the narrator's dismay, this hotel used to be the stomping ground of a serial killer, and his victims terrorize those who do not stay in bed after curfew. Hope is Lost is a SpongeBob Lost episode creepypasta similar to Squidward's Suicide, except the titular character of the popular Nickelodeon series is pretty much a serial killer. An intern for Nickelodeon finds a blank disc that contains the yellow ball of sunshine turned into a horrific monster that systematically murders the rest of the well-known characters of the show before being met by the devil at the Krusty Krab. The intern watches as the devil consumes SpongeBob and quite literally snaps, turning into a serial killer as well with the intent to kill everyone on Earth. ReficolFotsen.com is another short creepypasta that alleges a chain email containing a link to the website the title is named after caused the mass suicide of teenagers and young adults in September 2008. It states that the website was referenced in multiple notes from the deceased, and though the FBI did extensive interrogations, they could not find what the website was, how it came to be, or who ran it. The narrator states that an anonymous person who claimed to own the website threatened they would return, and suggests that everyone stay away from this website at all costs. The Long Walk is probably the most peculiar creepypasta on this list, in that it gives the small insight into a Hunger Games-esque society where a tyrant known as the Overlooker rules with an iron fist. The narrator describes how the Overlooker forces a large group of people to walk a long way after being rounded up for an event where an unknown entity selects who lives, dies, and fights for survival. The group of people selected, including the narrator, are blindfolded and taken to the arena before they are told they will all die because it's the 300th event. Missing teeth chilled me to the bone simply because the topic is something I've had nightmares about, but turned up to 11. Teeth going missing. The narrator initially wakes up one morning to notice that one of his front teeth were missing out of nowhere, and more seemed to disappear as each day passed. One night, however, they awoke to see a pale-faced person with round glasses stealing his teeth while he had been sleeping. That is spooky enough for me, so I'm gonna tell you guys to read the story yourselves to find out what happens next. Link in the description below. Superman No More Heroes is pretty much the same as the Forgotten Spider-Man, where the beloved comic book hero is extremely violent in a one-off issue the narrator comes across by chance. The comic is called No Heroes and depicts Superman going on an absolute killing spree until the one beacon of light turns to the reader and says, "For years you watched us suffer. Now it's your turn, hero." When the narrator tried to read a completely different DC comic, Superman shows up halfway in and says, "You don't get to be happy, hero." Shut That Damn Door is probably my favorite of this level of the Iceberg, purely because of the slow build that ended with my eyes fucking wide just imagining what was happening. The narrator talks about how they moved in with their Aunt Louise after their parents died in a car accident and was given two really weird rules. Every door had to be shut behind you after opening it and never go into the locked sub-basement. After asking why the sub-basement was the only locked room in the house one night, her exasperated response intrigued them so much that they steal the key ring so they could go look at what exactly was down there. When they do, they are met with an ungodly odor and some sort of Lovecraftian monster that crawls along the walls and stares at them. I'm really trying to describe this as best I can, but I will never be able to do it justice, so please go read it yourself. The Pancake Family is told through the guise of an interview that is apparently between a reporter and an alleged murderer. The murderer, named Hobb, is a retired detective that had been contacted by a woman named Stacy Bammer who claimed to have information about a cold case he had been investigating while on the force. The case was that of the Driscoll family, who disappeared without a trace October 13th, 1994, with no leads to aid law enforcement, until Stacy popped up. Hobbs claims he received a bunch of newspaper clippings from this woman, along with a confession letter that led them to an abandoned industrial building where they found the Driscoll family hooked up to IVs and pressed into flesh pancakes. Yeah, you heard what I said. Flesh pancakes. The level of detail in this story is just too gruesome for me to possibly discuss in a manner that does it any justice. You'll Never Even Know is extremely creepy in that it describes a man's obsession with hacking his neighbor's security devices. The narrator starts by hacking security cameras to look at one of the girls he had a crush on, who happened to be the neighbor's daughter, and continues with him pushing the limits of what he could do and see. Once he found a camera that was for the basement, he stumbles across the image of what seems to be a human with a pillowcase over their head. He would continue to watch this thing for days as it moved around the house in an inhuman way, and when he did something to distract it, he learned that this thing had been really screwing with his neighbors. He learned that seeing this thing had ruined his neighbor's life, and after seeing it himself, it had ruined his as well. I want to take a moment to thank everybody that stuck around to the last episode of this Creepypasta Iceberg. It's been a lot of fun, it's been a wild ride, and I hope to do more of these for you in the future. Until then, sweet nightmares. I wanted to take this time to thank my Patreons and channel members. Your support is so greatly appreciated, and I can't thank you enough. If you'd like to become a Patreon, there is a link in the description below, and if you'd like to become a channel member, just go ahead and click that join button and join the Truth Sleuths and Horror Hounds. All channel members and Patreons receive 24-hour access to videos prior to their public release and exclusive updates on my progress. After a certain tier, you can request that I do a certain topic or movie review, or you can even request that I do a game live stream, whichever works for you. At the highest tier, you not only get to choose the topic in which I cover, you get to either co-host the stream or the video that I do that covers said topic, no matter if it's one or multiple. Of course, this is not obligatory. If you want to support the channel, I greatly appreciate it, and once again, thank you so much.